Hey everyone, ready for a deep dive?
Always. Let's do it.
Awesome. So today we're going all the way back to the 80s.
The 80s.
Yeah. Big hair, neon colors.
Leg warmers, the whole deal.
Exactly. And of course, we can't talk about the 80s without talking about
Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson, Thriller, the album that
Changed everything.
pretty much, yeah. I mean, it broke like every record in the book, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just a hit album. It was a cultural
Phenomenon.
phenomena. Exactly.
And that's what we're going to dig into today.
I'm excited.
Me too. I mean, think about it. MTV was brand new.
It was still finding its feet, yeah.
And music videos, they weren't the big deal they are now.
More like promotional tools, you know.
Right, almost like glorified commercials.
Pretty much.
And then Michael comes along and drops Thriller, the video for the title track alone.
Yeah, fat budget.
$500,000 for a music video.
I know, right? In 1983, that was more than some movies cost.
It's crazy. So for this deep dive, we're working from an excerpt of a longer text, but even this section,
Packed with information.
it is. So much to uncover. Before we get to the zombies and those dance moves, can you set the scene for us a bit?
Okay, so picture the music scene before Thriller dropped.
Okay.
Disco was on its way out.
Yeah, it had its moment.
It did. And there was this, like, hunger for something new. Pop music was,
Kind of bland.
yeah, very safe. And the idea of a black artist, you know, crossing over to a mainly white audience,
Especially on MTV.
especially on MTV, is practically unheard of.
Right, and then
By-
boom,
Hmm.
Michael Jackson drops this meticulously crafted album.
8 months of work, a record-breaking budget of $750,000.
It's mind-blowing. The dedication, sleeping in the studio, doing like 91 takes of Billie Jean.
I know. It makes you wonder.
Was he a genius? Obsessive? Both?
Maybe all of the above. He definitely pushed everyone around him.
And himself?
Yeah, to their limits. And it wasn't just about, like, technical perfection. Each song was meant to push boundaries.
In what way?
Well, like, Beat It blends rock and R&B. Got Eddie Van Halen on guitar.
No way.
Yeah. And Billie Jean, that bass line, so funky, you recognize it instantly.
Oh, it's burned into my brain.
Right. Total earworm. And then you have Thriller, the title track, like a soundtrack to a mini horror movie.
And it totally foreshadowed that epic music video.
Speaking of epic, we can't forget the chart performance.
Oh yeah, the numbers are...
Insane. 37 weeks at #1.
What?
And over 100 million copies sold worldwide.
That's like everyone in listeners' country owning a copy.
It's hard to even grasp how big that is.
Totally. And this is where the music videos come in. Like we said, before Thriller, they were pretty basic.
Yeah, just simple promotional things.
So how did Michael change the game?
He turned music videos into art, basically. Take Billie Jean, for example.
Yeah, what about it?
That video with the lighting, the sidewalk tiles lighting up when he stepped on them,
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
it became a cultural touchstone, you know?
Yeah.
And it helped break racial barriers on MTV.
Because before that...
They rarely played videos by black artists.
Right.
It was a huge deal.
The huge moment. And then there's Beat It, right?
Yeah, that one used dance to tackle gang violence. They weren't just flashy productions. They had substance, a message.
And then Thriller itself, the video for Thriller.
Oh, man. That was something else.
14 minutes long, like a mini movie, groundbreaking special effects, Vincent Price narrating.
And the budget. The most expensive music video ever made at that point.
It was a cultural event. Remember MTV and Showtime?
They aired it like twice an hour.
Yeah, to keep up with demand.
It changed how people saw music videos. Suddenly, they were this legitimate art form.
Capable of storytelling and, like you said, sending a message.
It's hard to imagine music videos today without the impact of Thriller.
So true. Okay, we've got groundbreaking music, innovative videos, but what about the performances? I mean, that Motown 25 performance.
Oh, legendary.
Billie Jean, the fedora, and that move.
The moonwalk.
I gotta ask, did you try to moonwalk back then?
Who didn't?
It's amazing how a few seconds of dancing can become so iconic.
Right. Everyone was trying to do it.
Totally. It shows Michael's power as a performer to create these moments everyone remembers.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, there was the Victory Tour.
Oh, yeah, that was huge.
Huge stages, crazy technology, pyrotechnics.
It must have been insane to see live.
A spectacle unlike anything before it. That tour became the blueprint for how concerts are done today.
Wow. Okay, so we've got the music, the videos, the performances, but Michael's impact, it went way beyond music, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he broke down racial barriers, not just in music, but in the whole entertainment industry.
And paved the way for other Black
He
artists.
achieved mainstream success, definitely.
And you can't forget the collaborations, Paul McCartney, Eddie Van Halen.
He was all about blending genres, showing people that music didn't have to fit in a box.
It was like he was saying, hey, let's break the rules and see what happens.
Exactly. His fashion sense, oh man,
The single glove, that red leather
the
jacket.
socks with loafers.
They became instant symbols of the era. Everyone was copying them.
It's funny how those things become so iconic.
And then there's the dancing. An entire generation was trying to pop and lock like Michael.
His influence on dance is huge.
But Thriller also changed the business side of music, right?
Definitely. Thriller basically wrote the playbook for how we market entertainment today.
How so?
Well, think about it. The making of documentary, the Pepsi sponsorship, all of that.
It was all new territory.
Exactly. This wasn't just about catchy songs and cool dance moves. It changed how the music industry operated.
That's incredible. But let's not forget, in the middle of all this success, Michael was also doing a lot of good in the world.
Right. A lot of people overlook that side of him.
With all the fame, it's easy to forget.
But he was deeply involved in philanthropy. Just the Victory Tour alone raised millions for charity,
And then there was We Are the World.
bringing together some of the biggest names in music to help fight famine in Africa.
It's easy to get caught up in the spectacle, but Michael was using his platform to make a difference.
He understood the power of his influence and really tried to use it for good. It's an important part of his legacy.
It really is.
Yeah, it really makes you think, doesn't it? About how much good he did in the world, too.
It does. It's a good reminder that there's always more to the story than what meets the eye.
Exactly. I mean, Thriller, it was this massive cultural earthquake, right?
It was. You can't really imagine a world without Thriller, can you?
No, not really. Popular music would be completely different, that's for sure.
Okay, so we talked about all the mountaintop moments, the groundbreaking achievements of the Thriller era, the insane impact.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to acknowledge that, like any journey, it wasn't without its bumps in the road.
That's true. Michael's journey, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, especially with the level of fame he achieved.
Yeah, and reading through this source material, I was struck by, how those events later on, especially the accusations and the trial, cast such a huge shadow over everything.
It was a period of intense scrutiny, no doubt about it. It really changed how people viewed him, regardless of the outcome.
And the media, it felt like they were relentless. It makes you think about how much pressure he was under.
It's a really complex and sensitive topic,
It is.
And wherever you stand on it all, those events had a profound impact on Michael's life and his career. No way around that.
Yeah. It's a reminder that behind the king of pop persona, behind all the dazzling performances, the record-breaking sales, that there was a human being experiencing the same pressures and vulnerabilities as anyone else.
Exactly. We tend to forget the human element when we're talking about people of extraordinary fame.
It's easy to do.
It is. But it's important to remember, Michael was under this incredible amount of scrutiny from such a young age. It's hard to even fathom.
It really is. And it makes
Yeah.
you appreciate the strength and resilience it must have taken to not only handle that pressure, but to continue creating and innovating amidst all the personal and professional challenges.
Absolutely. He never stopped pushing the boundaries, experimenting with his sound.
Which makes me want to shift gears a bit and talk about the music itself. We've covered the mega hits, obviously.
Of course, the ones everyone knows.
But what about some of the deeper cuts on Thriller?
The hidden gems.
Yeah. Were there any tracks that you felt were maybe overlooked or even ahead of their time?
I've always been drawn to Human Nature. It's such a beautifully written ballad,
It is.
and it shows off Michael's vocal range so well and his emotional depth.
It's true. It's such a nice contrast to the high-energy tracks like Beat It and Want to Be Startin' Something. It really shows his versatility as an artist.
It does. He could go from these big anthems to something so introspective and soulful. It's pretty incredible.
It is. It's a good reminder that while Thriller is famous for its pop and dance elements, it also has these moments of real vulnerability and introspection.
Exactly. It's a multidimensional album. It lets you see different sides of Michael's artistry.
I think that's part of what makes an album timeless. You can listen to it at different points in your life and connect with different songs in different ways.
You're so right. That's what separates a good album from a great album. The ability to grow with you, to offer new perspectives as you change. And Thriller definitely does that.
Okay, so if you had to sum up the legacy of Thriller in just a few phrases, what would you say? What's the lasting impact in your view?
That's a tough one. But I'd say Thriller was more than just an album. It was a cultural reset. It changed how we think about pop music, music videos, entertainment as a whole, really. It broke down barriers, pushed creative boundaries, and its influence is still felt in music, in dance, fashion, and video today. It really set a new standard for what was possible.
It did. And here we are, 4 decades later, still talking about it, analyzing it, still finding inspiration in it.
That's what makes it a true cultural touchstone. It just keeps giving, sparking conversations, inspiring new generations of artists and fans.
Okay, so we've talked about the impact, the music, the visuals, the controversies, but I want to get your take on Michael himself. What insights did you get from our source material about Michael Jackson, the person beyond the stage persona?
Well, it seems like even with all the global fame and the larger-than-life image, Michael was actually quite private.
You know, that makes sense. With that level of fame, you'd almost have to create your own world, a place to escape the constant pressure.
Exactly. He needed that space to be himself, away from the spotlight. And Neverland Ranch seems like it was that for him.
But even with all the chaos going on around him, he never stopped working, never stopped creating.
That's so true. He was incredibly dedicated to his craft, always pushing for perfection.
And he never forgot about giving back either.
Yeah, that's a crucial part of his legacy. He understood the influence he had, and he used it to advocate for causes he believed in. It's something we shouldn't forget.
It's amazing, isn't it, how all these different threads come together to create such a complex and layered story. Triumph, tragedy, creativity, philanthropy.
It's almost Shakespearean.
It is. Michael Jackson's life and legacy, it's filled with those dazzling highs and heartbreaking lows, but he definitely left his mark on the world.
His music, his dance moves, his style, it's all woven into the fabric of pop culture.
It's like a ripple effect spreading outwards, influencing music, fashion, how we think about entertainment.
And that's a testament to his talent, his vision, his ability to connect with audiences all over the planet. That connection is still so strong today.
You can feel it. People are still drawn to his music. They're still trying to dance like him, still mesmerized by the magic he created.
It's because, at its heart, Thriller speaks to something universal. It's about pushing boundaries, being yourself, reaching for something extraordinary. Those themes resonate with everyone, no matter who you are or where you're from.
Well said. I feel like we could talk for hours about Thriller and its impact, but our time for this deep dive is coming to a close.
It is. But it's amazing how much we covered.
I know, right? But before we wrap up, I have this question. It's been bugging me.
Oh, okay, what is it?
We've been talking about the impact of Thriller back in the 80s, you know, a time before the internet and social media were such a big part of our lives.
Right, things were so different then.
Exactly. But what if Thriller came out today in this crazy, hyper-connected world? What kind of reaction do you think it would get?
Oh, wow. That's a fascinating question. It's hard to say, but I think the impact would be even bigger.
Yeah.
It would be amplified exponentially.
With social media, it would be like a global explosion, wouldn't it? The music videos would go viral in seconds.
Billions of views, easy.
And the album topping the charts all over the world, plus all the fan art, the memes, the TikTok dances.
You wouldn't be able to escape it. The internet would be consumed by Thriller.
It's crazy to think how technology could have supercharged its impact.
It's true. But there's another side to that coin. I mean, it's so easy to criticize and tear people down online.
Yeah.
Even someone as iconic as Michael Jackson.
Oh, definitely. You see it all the time. The internet can be pretty vicious.
It can. It's a double-edged sword. It can be amazing for building people up and celebrating them, but it can also tear them down just as fast. It's hard to know how it would have played out with Thriller.
It really is. But even with all that, I think the sheer brilliance of the music, the visuals, it would still break through.
Yeah, I think you're right. The artistry is undeniable. And the themes in Thriller, those are timeless. It would have made waves no matter what.
It would have been a seismic event.
That's the beauty of great art, isn't it? It transcends time. It transcends context. It speaks to something universal within us.
It does. Well, on that note, I think it's time to take a break from our deep dive.
Okay.
But don't worry, we'll be back.
Definitely. There's still more to explore.
We'll pick up in part 3, where we'll talk about what happened after Thriller and how Michael's legacy continues to shape music and culture today. It's going to be fascinating. Welcome back to our deep dive, everyone.
Glad to be back.
Me too. Okay, so we've talked about the impact of Thriller, all the success, Michael's influence on other artists.
So much to cover.
It really is. But let's talk about what happened after Thriller took over the world.
Okay.
Because it was such a game changer, right? It set the bar so high.
You could say that again.
So how do you even follow up an album that redefined pop music?
That's the thing. Thriller was such a unique phenomenon.
Like lightning in a bottle.
Exactly. It set a standard that's almost impossible to replicate.
Even for Michael himself.
Even for Michael. Like, imagine trying to paint a better Mona Lisa.
You can't improve on perfection, right?
Pretty much. But that doesn't mean Michael's career stopped there.
Of course not.
He kept releasing incredibly successful albums like Bad a few years later, and then Dangerous.
Oh, yeah. Man in the Mirror, Black or White, remember the time?
Huge hits.
They were everywhere.
And his live shows, they were still legendary.
Oh, I bet.
The Bad and Dangerous tours, they were like spectacles, you know.
I've seen footage. It's mind-blowing.
He just kept pushing the boundaries, bigger stages, crazy effects.
So he never stopped innovating.
Never. He always wanted to give the fans something amazing.
So while he might not have reached the same level as Thriller commercially...
Which, let's be honest, was almost impossible.
Yeah, sure.
He was still incredibly successful.
Breaking records, selling out stadiums.
His impact was still undeniable.
So let's talk about that impact. How did Michael's music and style influence the artists who came after him?
Oh, his influence is huge. You see it everywhere. In the dancing, the music videos, everything.
Give us some examples. Who are some artists who really took inspiration from Michael?
So many, it's hard to choose. But Usher, Justin Timberlake, Britney Spears, even Beyonce.
Wow, that's a pretty diverse group.
It shows how wide his influence was.
Crossing genres, generations.
It wasn't just the music itself either. It was the whole package, the performances, the videos.
Those groundbreaking videos.
He showed everyone what a modern pop star could be.
Like a blueprint.
Exactly. And those elements, they're still inspiring artists today.
His influence goes even beyond music, doesn't it? Fashion, dance, even visual art.
It's really remarkable. It shows how timeless his art was.
He created this whole visual language that we still see today.
Exactly. Okay, so we've talked about Thriller, the success, the influence.
One last big question. How is Michael Jackson remembered today?
That's a complicated one.
Because of the controversies.
Yeah, it's hard to talk about Michael without acknowledging them.
Right, they're part of his story.
And they definitely influence how people view him.
It's a tough conversation to have.
It is. But at the same time, people all over the world still love his music.
That's undeniable.
It's what makes his legacy so fascinating. There's all these different layers, these contradictions.
The good and the bad.
But no matter what, his talent shines through.
The music is undeniable.
It speaks to people on this deep emotional level, and that's something special.
And that connection is still there. People are still listening to his music, dancing to his songs.
Those dance moves, they're everywhere.
It's incredible how decades after his passing, his impact is still so strong.
It really is. It shows the power of his artistry. He was a true visionary.
He pushed boundaries, changed the game.
And his legacy, it keeps inspiring us, provoking us, entertaining us.
So well said. Well, everyone, it looks like we've reached the end of our deep dive.
Wow. Time flies.
It really does. Exploring Michael Jackson and Thriller.
It's like peeling back layers of a fascinating onion, you know?
Yeah.
There's always more to discover.
That's what makes it so compelling. The music, the cultural impact, his personal life, the influence he had, it's all connected.
It's a story that keeps unfolding, even today.
That's a perfect way to put it. So to our listeners, we hope this deep dive gave you a new appreciation for the King of Pop, for Thriller, and for the legacy that lives on.
Thanks for joining us on this journey.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive.